BJ the Brave here, back with another weekly meta snapshot for Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. Guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we do this every week. We've got deck guys, we've got meta snapshots, we follow the tournament scene. So if you like that, then don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel. And for those of you who've been watching along, welcome back. Now, guys, we are now week 4 of the Infinity Evolved Set 2 expansion. And to be honest with you, I was feeling that the meta is getting a little bit stale and very, very settled. But then, you know, this week's actually quite interesting. There's been a few developments. We've had a few tournaments. And also people are starting to really play test into the tier 1 decks now to see what they can come up with. And so I've got a couple of spicy additions this week. So as ever, we're going to work our way through our 4 tiers and then take a look at some of the standout decks. Without further ado, let's jump on in. Okay, so not much change in tier 4. The only exception is that Stormhaven I've actually increased that to tier 3 from tier 4. I'm going to show you a deck that got a pretty good win streak at Master Diamond, and I do feel like it is worthy of a tier 3 status and slightly better than 4. Control Haven and Rose Queen combo are somewhat mean decks. Rose Queen's like a fun idea, right? Like building up loads of 1-drops in your hand and then creating loads of brambles and just doing 21 burst damage potentially from hand, something like that. But in practice, it's still very, very difficult and very, very inconsistent. So a bit of fun for sure, but, you know, power level tier 4. Now in tier 3, sadly, Fenny Ramp is just not quite cutting it. I was hoping that this might be one of the outliers for this expansion, but it just turns out that when it goes off, don't get me wrong, it's really powerful, but it's just inconsistent. And actually, this is going to lead to one of the kind of spicy evolutions that we're going to talk about this week. But ultimately, Fenny Ramp itself is just not consistent enough. The other problem is that Fenny herself is like, you know, it's a super expensive 8-drop, and you often play it on 8 because you want to generate the value that you get from it. But it's often a really clunky and awkward turn to like play Fenny, and you usually have to use a Super Evo just to stay in the game. And yeah, it's just quite awkward. So Fenny Ramp is powerful when everything lines up, but it is inconsistent. As I say, Stormhaven. Now I've got a deck to share with you. I think Stormhaven's quite awkward for your opponent, right? Everything's in amulets. They can't remove things as easily. It does require some lining up, but it does have quite a lot of Storm Burst. And that's quite important when you playing decks like Rune and Sword. You're able to like keep up parity and then burst down. So yeah, we'll take a look at what that looks like. Cage Sword, as we've said in previous weeks, it's still a good deck. Kagemitsu is a fun unit to use, keeps coming back into the deck. It's just really like, as an archetype in itself, it's more of a set 1 archetype. Not many people play it anymore, and it's just not as good as the other sword decks. Now, Storm Dragon is good. Again, it suffers a little bit from 2 things, really. One, that it can be kind of a bit inconsistent. And the other thing is that, you know, you might have, for example, only storm units in hand when actually your opponent's got ward units down, and they just can't really do much. So it's got a little bit of like a lack of flexibility, if you like, in the game plan. Now, Tempo Fairy is very good. Been a couple of evolutions in the Tempo Fairy deck, which we'll have a look at. And similar with Earth Rune, I think Tempo Fairy and Earth Rune can both do quite well. But again, they're just not quite as good as their tier 1 counterparts in the class. And again, Wardhaven, I feel like, is right on the barrier between tier 2 and tier 3. I would probably, if someone really twisted my arm and said, no, Wardhaven's definitely tier 2, I probably wouldn't fight that too hard. Like I say, I think it's somewhere in between. The biggest problem is that it does struggle into some of the tier 1 decks. It's very good, though, against Combo Roach. So let's take a look at some of the decks in tier 3, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so first and foremost, we have got the Amulet Haven deck that I wanted to share with you. Now, this is a deck that went on a heck of a win streak. I think it was something like 11 win streak in Master Diamond. And it's pretty good, you know, it's pretty good. Like early game, you've got things like the draw, you've got triple Darkhaven Grace. This is a deck where you don't actually go wide on the board. So it's one of the few Haven decks that I've played where you can actually run multiple Darkhavens and just get the value from it. It's quite nice having 2 of these down and double healing on double buffing. We do run the new Colette card, which is often doing 4 damage and a 2/2 body. That's quite a good value 3-drop. And then into the mid game, we've got things like the Avian Statue. Agnes is actually, this is like the deck made for Agnes, right? She can come on, she can threaten damage with her Storm ability. And if you do have 2 amulets down, which often does happen, then she can be removal at the same time. She's got a strike ability that says remove basically a different unit to the one that she attacks. So you can even hit face with the storm damage and it'll just remove the unit that's on the board. In the 6-drop spaces, we've gone for removal. So we've got the triple Unholy Vessel for the hard removal, and we've also got triple Feather Fall as well, because there's a lot of like go wide sword boards, aggro decks and things like that. So you can clear up quite nice. You can kill a 5-drop unit with this. You can kill all obviously 3 health units and stuff. So yeah, pretty good. Now the Olivia gives you even more draw, and because we've got quite a lot of storm things, Olivia's really good in this deck because she can buff Super Evo herself, Super Evo storm unit goes face. Triple Odin to support that storm theme of beatdown and obviously a little bit of removal as well, and double Sacred Griffin. Honestly, guys, I found this deck to be really, really good. It did still struggle with Rune. I managed to get a few wins against Rune, but I lost more than I won against Rune, so it did still struggle against Rune, but I actually found that it was surprisingly good against a lot of other things in the meta, and it's in this kind of nice sort of mid-range. It's not waiting around, it's in this like mid-range area where it's trying to kind of like end the game, and it's got the tools to do so. It's just a little bit slow winding up in the beginning of the game. You've got to make sure you find your kind of pacts and your colettes and stuff like that, and maybe your Serene Sanctuary early on. But otherwise, it's a really, really, really interesting deck. Next up, we got Tempo Fairy. One of the things that I've noticed with a Tempo Fairy, we seem to have cutting down on the 4-drops here. And again, we're not all in on Roach in this deck. We are trying to play for an early board. We've got triple Good Fairy of the Pond. And we're running things like triple Fate Twinkle Toes, right? So we can kind of go wide, buff our board, and really put a lot of damage on our opponent quite early. So I find this deck to be quite an easier version of Forest to play, but it hasn't quite got that explosiveness that Roach has got. So, for example, if you're playing against Rune and you've got them down to 10 health, normally that'd be amazing, but then they heal another 8 with Norman, and then you don't have the massive Roach combo that you would have in Combo Roach to be able to deal with that level of health, so you often lose those games. Next up, we have got Earthright. This is a fun deck, guys. It's a different way to play Rune. It's actually a really pretty powerful tempo deck. Again, really strong curves, something that Spell Boost Rune struggles a little bit in the early game. This deck doesn't. This deck has nice curve units, nice powerful units to play on curve, and then the Lilianthum comes down as a kind of win con, and obviously with the Aura, it can't be banished, it can't be targeted by Odin, for example. And if you've built up lots of Earth Sigils, this card's just going to stick around forever and just be a real problem. So yeah, really fun if you just want a kind of more of a tempo type of spell deck. Then this is definitely a good option for you. And this is the Ward Haven deck update. Now, there's been quite a few variants of Ward Haven that we've shared over the weeks. Go back and watch the previous videos, and you'll see some of them. I think the thing with Ward Haven ultimately to me is that right now in the meta, I kind of still like the Cocytus option because and Heavy Ward, because what this deck ends up doing is having really solid early game, right? So it's because of the heavy ward nature. It means it's not going to get, overrun and lose loads of health early on. And then in the late game, what the Cocytus does is it does allow you to challenge those rune decks. It allows you to challenge the inevitability decks and to go deep. So, yeah, I actually think that this is, at the minute, this is my favorite variant. The other thing is that Sarissa is actually surprisingly kind of like low-key win con in this deck. Like, you can get these boards where, I mean, for example, when you Aether, right, and you bring down 3-4 wards, and if they just don't have an option, sometimes you just Evo Sarissa, like just proactively Evo and to that type of board, and you know, if they've got something like, you know, Stormy, you know, like a hard removal spell that just does damage, Sarissa's shield then protects her, and she can really get out of control and be a problem. So for the cost of 2 player points, she's like another alternative sneaky win con, and she also just can trade really well. She often trades up pretty effectively. So yeah, pretty nice Haven ward deck there. All right, so let's move on to tier 2, guys. So in tier 2, I've got Puppet Portal towards the lower end of tier 2. I think Puppet's really interesting. There's a couple of really good tournament decks that came out around Puppet. I'm going to share one of those with you later. But the big news this week, guys, the big news is, and I ummed and ahed about this, but I'm pretty confident in this decision, and that is that I want to introduce I'm calling it a new archetype, and I'm calling it Fish Ramp. And people have been playing around with like these mid-range dragon decks, but I wasn't confident enough that they were different enough to Storm or different enough to Fenny Ramp. But actually have put quite a bit of time into this deck this week, which I'm going to share with you. I've got a full deck guide out for this as well. And a lot of my guild have been playing it too. And we've had some pretty good success with it, you know, and playing at master rank and having some pretty good success with this deck, and it being quite competitive into the top tier decks. So for that reason, I am actually separating this out as its own archetype. I'm calling it Fish Ramp, and I think it's tier 2 right now. So we'll come on to that in a second. We've got Control Mid Abyss, which has been pretty consistent. We've seen a couple of evolutions in that deck where people are playing to have a little bit more burn damage in it, so that it can kind of flex. It's like a true mid-range deck, right? It can control, but then it can flex, and it can pivot, and it can become more beat down aggro deck when needed. Standard Aggro Abyss, again, a couple of techs in there, but very consistently powerful. An Artifact Hybrid, probably right at the top of tier 2, because it has still got that really great matchup into Sword, and but it's not quite at tier 1 anymore. So let's look into some of these decks that we were just talking about. Okay, so yeah, just to let you know, the Fish Ramp deck that I'm going to show you, I have done a full guide on it on my channel. This is the thumbnail for it, so go and definitely check that out. Right, okay, 2 seconds, guys. So we've done that. We've done the Earthright. Here we go. Okay, so the Puppet Portal deck, I really want to show you the Absolute Zero version from last week's Shadowverse kickoff tournament. I do think this was quite cool to see, this Twin Blade Goblin tech. Yeah, it fits in nicely, doesn't it? Lots of these like one drop. Obviously, most of the things have got flankers, but you can play this out on one. But what's really nice is you can Super Evo. Twin Blade Goblin can actually do 4 damage, which can, you know, do a lot. Could remove like an Anangria that's hiding behind a ward unit, for example. So, I mean, overall, there's not a ton of there's not a ton of innovation in this build. This is kind of pretty standard to what we've been seeing. But the Twin Blade Goblin and the triple Indomitable Fighter as well, like the flexibility of this card, I actually think this is a pretty solid deck. And as I said before, this deck has like a good 50-50 chance of fighting against anything, really. So if you really want a deck where you're just going to kind of like learn the matchups and try and eke out your win rate through skill and understanding of the matchup, then I kind of feel like this is one of the better decks, because it kind of has a chance against everything. So yeah, I mean, if you want to play, as last week's version had Cocytus in, that can give you a little bit more inevitability in the late game. You know, you could even drop like a single goblin and play Cocytus here if you wanted to. But yeah, I really like Absolute Zero's version here. I think this looks really cool, so definitely give this one a try on ladder. Okay, so something fishy. This is the deck that we talked about. There are a handful of cards that are tech choices that me and my guild have been playing around with. So the idea here is that if ramp is not quite working, what we realize is that basically Fenny is just a problem, and we just figured out, like, what's the point in playing Fenny? Like, why don't we just play good cards, right? Because Fenny's just a problem. So what we've done is we've gone, okay, let's drop Fenny. Let's obviously include the ramp package with Lu Thang, with Dragon Sign, but let's just play good cards, and let's make sure that we've got a nice balance so we don't get overrun in the early game, but we've got like a pretty good way of closing out the game still. So we're not trying to kind of go deep and try and out-compete like the long game with Spell Rune and things like that. We want to be able to end games quickly, just like Storm Dragon can. So in other words, like, it's like a true mid-range deck in that regard. Now, you can see in this version, I've got the 2 Ivory Dragons. Some of the team have been playing the Golden Note, the 3-drop draw 2 cards for heal 2. That's a pretty good alternative, especially because we have quite a few 7-drops and things like Forte and Season Merman and so on. 10, you can kind of like play the Golden Note draw and still get something good to play. But I also think the Soaring Ivory Dragons are good because they shore up in the early game, and obviously in the late game they draw 1 as well. So that's just like a kind of flex option for you. A couple of the guys have been trying out 1 copy of Apollo in here as well. But this is kind of like the version that I have been running. The most recent addition for me as well was Twilight Dragon. I actually was running 3 Burnites originally, but I put the Twilight Dragon in for things like Norman boards, right? Like to be able to deal with those, or Amelia barrier boards and things like that, or Ward Haven. Twilight Dragon just has a little bit of a unique niche there over Burnite. This deck is really, really great, guys. I am really enjoying this. Climbed up to Master Diamond rank with it, no problem. I had like a lot of fun with it as well. So having that balance basically between the aggro and the control, the Season Merman, the Neptune, the Gaiu's really great in here as well as a Super Evo option, because a lot of decks can't actually clear Gaiu if you use it right. It's quite a sticky Super Evo late game unit. Obviously, the Crest from Burnite's really good because it's just every turn it's doing 1 ping. We've got loads of Storm in here, Forte, Odin, the Fan of Otaheim. So yeah, there's great beatdown potential in the deck, and again, great board clears in Phylene. Obviously, can be a board clear. Burnite and the Twilight Dragon. So I feel like this deck's just got like everything, and it's really just about getting the mulligan correctly and working out the right game plan in the matchup. So if you want to see more of this deck, then go and check out the video on my channel. Something fishy. All right, now next up, let's talk about mid/control Abyss. So I'm showing you our Columbia's deck. He was the Pool 1 winner in the kickoff to tournament last week, and this was his deck. And you've got the Charons bringing back like the Philodoos. It's a really nice combo in there. He has gone for the Vuelas over the puppets for the kind of sticky version, if you like. He has got 1 undead soldier. I think this and the 3-drop are like the sticky cards, if you like. He has got 1 of those, but he's got the triple Olivia, triple Odin, triple Cerebus, triple Jinsetsu. So, it's definitely, and also the Mukan as well for the control tool. So this is a slightly more control version. And then I wanted to show you LVH Era 53 is one of the pro players. He was in the Pro League event, and I was watching him play this version as well. Now, this is a little bit more, if the previous one was more control-y, this is more mid-range. It might be time to start separating these out soon. This is like, similar to what I said about the new Fish Ramp Dragon deck. This can also, what this is doing is it's able to control the board, but it's able to also shift gears and go aggro. So what you're seeing here is bringing in things like Cultivator and Malleus, bringing in the Rage of Serpents. And quite a few top players have been experimenting with this recently, where they're able to kind of take the mid-range package but switch gears and turn into aggro so that they've got more reach, more beatdown potential. When they're playing those matchups that just want to outgrind you, you've actually got a plan B that you can go to, and it just helps you close out matches and win games more decisively. So this is, I don't know if this is fully refined yet. Definitely a deck to watch out for, and definitely if you're a big fan of Abyss, this is a great option for you this week to go ahead and start testing out in the tournament lobby and on ranked. All right, next up, we have got the Aggro Abyss. Now, I'm sharing Mandu 98's version. He came second. He won Pool 2 as well on the Kickoff 2 tournament last week. This was his Aggro Abyss. Really solid. I like the double Balto in here now. Just getting the consistency of this, like that chip damage, just putting your opponent on a clock. And everything else is pretty standard. I mean, the aggro decks, we're not seeing too much variance. Just a single Olivia and triple Odin in order to get the double Balto in there. But everything else is pretty standard, very low to the ground. And Apollo's there just to help clear off those kind of like two health wards that you might see in Sword and things like that to help out with that matchup. So yeah, very cool deck. If you want quick games, fast climb on ladder, this is probably the deck for you. And then last but not least, in tier 2, we have Artifact. So this is a pretty standard Artifact deck at the minute. It's pretty pure. It's what we've seen most of the season, to be honest. And just being able to create a 5-drop, you can obviously give it the additional buffs from Flight of the Icarus so that it draws when it gets killed, or you can give it protection, and then you just basically spam copies with the Doomright Resurgence, the Karula, obviously the Alouettes, and the Ralmirs. This one's running triple Ralmir. Some people are running double Ralmir and triple Orcus. Bit of a flavor thing, or double Sylvia. A bit of a flavor thing there on the top 3 cards. But overall, I think this is a pretty consolidated deck. This is pretty much it. All right, so what have we got in tier 1? Well, first and foremost, Combo Roach has been promoted, guys. Combo Roach, just like set 1, started out low and just keeps climbing. Why? Because Combo Roach is probably the best tournament deck right now. It's not quite as good, I don't think, as Spell Boost and Midrange Sword on ladder, because it doesn't quite have the consistency and in its own game plan, but also in its matchups. Right, there's a lot of these matchups like the Fish Ramp and the Aggro Abyss can be a real problem for Combo Roach, Storm Dragon. There's quite a few of these decks that can cause it problems. Ward Haven, but in a tournament where you know everybody's playing Spell Boost and everybody's playing Midrange Sword, Combo Roach does excellent in those matchups. So that's the big reason why it's tier 1. Because it does the best against the top decks. It's a really good prey deck. It's really powerful. You can do 20 damage from hand. What other competitive deck can do 20 damage from hand right now? Pretty much none. The Combo Roach deserves to be tier 1. It's very, very powerful. It's hard to play. It's not an easy deck. So yeah, definitely take that into consideration. You'll lose a lot of games if you're just starting out with them. But if you watch the top players play with this deck, it's like a thing of beauty. Midrange Sword and Spell Boost continue to prop up the meta. I think they're good in tournaments, they're good on ladder, they're both very consistent, the power level's just phenomenal. Midrange just has insane value. Spell Boost just has bomb after bomb after bomb. Its early game units just get even better in the late game. So yeah, they prop up the top tier. So let's show you a couple of decks, and I've tried to pick out something to keep it fresh. This is Rika's Forest deck. Definitely go and check out my video that I did on the kickoff tournament from last Sunday, because I shared a couple of different Forest combo decks that came out from there, like one from Freddy Babes, and they had a slightly different approach, bringing in the Good Fairy, the Pond Fairy. But this is Rika's version. I saw him playing this, and I think this is pretty good. Basically, he played in the Pro League. He played this deck in the Pro League. He played it phenomenally well, like really just every turn, just the decision making was absolutely spot on. So yeah, if you're looking for a Combo Roach deck, definitely go and check this out. The single line Marga in there. He's obviously got the new Garden Allure, the Ambush from Above. These are fitted in nicely into this style of deck. Okay, now in terms of the sword, I've gone for Sakana's deck. Sakana was the pool 2 from the Kickoff 1 tournament weekend. This was his version, and I quite liked Sakana's version. It's a very solid, like mid-range sword deck, but also has the triple quick blader. So able to kind of put on a little bit more pressure. You can combo Quick Blader with even with like Albert, for example, on turn 10, just to do an even cheeky extra point of damage. But yeah, this deck is just super solid. The value is absolutely insane. And yeah, it's a really, really, really powerful deck. Great to climb ladder, great in tournaments. And last but not least, Sakana's other deck was the spell boost, and I feel like this is pretty much like the tier 1, the top deck right now. To be honest, I feel like this list is kind of like settling in, and what's happened is people have dropped a couple of Williams and they've put the Flames of Chaos in. I had a guy play a Flames of Chaos against me, and he did something like 27 damage. 27 damage. For 3. So obviously, the more spells you play, the bigger it gets. It's just got everything, guys. It's just got absolutely everything. Norman is just such a flexible powerhouse. Do you need to heal? Do you want... You know the drill by now. And obviously, on turn 10, huge players playing Q1 into Decline to play more Q1 or play Cocytus. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal deck. So there's the deck code, and that is it for this week's Meta Snapshot, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have some fun with some of these decks on the ladder. Go and check out some of the deck guides if you want to see on my channel, if you want to see some of these in action. Thanks for all the support as always. I hope you have fun in the lobby tournament this weekend. Don't forget to sign up for the SV Open. That is coming up next weekend, and we'll be back with some more reporting on the kickoff finals and the decks and the results from that as well soon. So take it easy, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.